Last time we focused on simulating the Seljuk invasion of Byzantium. Today on Spreadsheets and Swords, we're seeing if the AI can click a button and form Hungary. It's time to see the Oprod family repeat history and become the founding family of Hungary. This scenario is a little different from the past ones I've covered because it's not two or more belligerents starting out at war. This time we're seeing if the AI can complete a decision and go to war with Bulgaria or whoever is in control of the Carpathian Basin. The decision is called Prepare to Cross the Carpathians, and the prerequisites are to have 1,000 prestige, be an adult, be at peace, have a tribal government type, and it's the year 911 or earlier. All those prerequisites are met at the start of the game, so it's just up to the AI to take that decision. Here are my 3 predictions for the 50 simulations. Hungary will be formed 75% of the time. With the event troops, it should be much more likely to happen. It will take about 5 years for the AI to win their claim. Like I said, when the game starts, all the prerequisites are met, so it should be easy for them to make that decision. And finally, the Bulgarian kingdom will split about 85% of the time. I think this will happen due to the succession laws and the starting king having 3 sons. Quick history lesson. The Oprods family were a part of the nomadic group living on the Pontic steppe called the Magarais. They lived along the Black Sea in modern-day Ukraine. Historians have a mixed answer on why exactly they decided to move from the steppes to the Carpathian Basin. Could have been due to being attacked by the Bulgarians, that they were convinced by the Byzantines to help them in their war against the Bulgarians, or could have been that they just saw some free real estate to grab up. Either way, in 895, the Magarais, or their Latin name, Hungarians, started to settle the Carpathian Basin. Over the course of 40 years, they fought in a series of conflicts to strengthen their control over the basin and eventually form the nation of Hungary. Now let's dive into this data. Shows us how often the Oprod family pressed their claim for Hungary. As you can see, they did it about 15 out of 50 times, or about 30% of the time. This next graph shows how often Hungary was formed. On average, it happened about 52% of the time. Now, if you step back and compare these two graphs, you can see a disconnect between them. If the Oprods formed in Hungary only 15 times, how else did Hungary get formed? The answer to that is their vassals. At the start of the game, they have a number of vassals who are the Zaporolia, the Uno, and the Soroka. There are actually 2 different families called the Zaporolia, but I decided to lump them together. The surprising thing about these other families were able to form Hungary while still being beholden to the Oprods, which shouldn't be possible due to the prerequisites of the decision. I thought it might be that they get the CB when their lord gets the decision, but I tested it and no dice. Either way, one of the more interesting developments that came out of this simulation. If the Oprods weren't spending their time trying to cross the Carpathians and form Hungary, what were they up to? They were trying to subjugate their neighbor Khazaria. 20 out of the 50 observations were spent trying to subjugate their neighbor, and of those attempts, they succeeded 11 times, or about 55% of the time. Next, we have a graph depicting the length of the conflict. On average, it lasted about 3 years, with the shortest being 1 and the longest being 6. The AI never declared for Hungary earlier than 897. Last graph is, did Bulgaria split? As you can see, Bulgaria split most of the time, with succession laws forcing the creation of new titles and having a number of male heirs. The AI has no options but to split. The few times that they didn't was because of some of their male heirs dying early. And before we wrap up, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a like and please consider subscribing. Let's quickly look at our predictions. Hungary will be formed 75% of the time. Unfortunately for me, it was only formed 52% of the time. I chalked this up to the AI getting distracted in other conflicts and not taking the decision right away. It will take about 5 years for the AI to win their claim. They did it much quicker than I expected when they actually did try for it. And the final prediction, the Bulgarian kingdom will split about 85% of the time. This is the only one I was sure would happen for the reasons I just gave. Let me know what else you would like me to observe in CK3 or whatever other game down in the comment section, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.